In our discussion of cognitive motivation, we're going to take a look at the context of cognitive motivation for entrepreneurial mindset and motivation, how it impacts the success of the entrepreneur, and how you can assess your own personal cognitive motivation. This is the second element that we're discussing within the broad topic of entrepreneurial motivation, with tolerance for ambiguity coming next. So when we look at cognitive, fundamentally it's the process of thought. And when you layer motivation into that, it's really trying to address the question of, do you enjoy problem solving? And do you use research and analysis to make it happen? So when we look at the difference between high and low cognitive motivation, those with high cognitive motivation tend to seek and acquire and think and reflect on that information. They're researchers, they're analytics. Low cognitive motivation typically parallels those that rely on experience or intuition, assumptions, and luck. And in this discussion, from Eric Knight, the author of Reframe, he talks a little bit about cognitive motivation in the context of problem solving and what's involved in rethinking and reframing problems on path to coming to more innovative and more effective solutions. We're going to show you a brief intro and have posted the entirety of the video online for you to view later.
Can I say it is a real pleasure to be here. My mother is from Hong Kong, and coming back here reminds me so much of my trips here as a kid, so thanks very much for having me today. I want to talk about an ambitious topic. How can we solve the world's trickiest problems? What I want to persuade you of today is that in order to solve our problems, we need to reframe the way in which we look at them. We ask ourselves the wrong questions, and by applying the wrong frameworks to the problems we seek to solve, we get to the wrong answers. What I want you to take away from my talk today is not Eric Knight's answers to all our problems. It's the process we need to take in our businesses, in our organisations, and in our lives to get to better answers more often. I want to start with what is not the problem. The problem is not a shortage of answers. We live in a world of 7 billion people. If each of us had half an answer to all the questions we were asked, there'd be literally hundreds of billions of answers flying around the world on any single day. The problem is not finding more answers in our organisations. It's about finding the right answers. Now, reframing as that process of getting to the right answers is not itself a new idea. It's an old idea. It's evolutionary biology applied to the world of ideas. Variation and then selection. Variation and then selection as the process by which we get to better answers more often. Now, the irony is that that process is actually surprisingly rare inside our organisations.
So when we think about high cognitive motivation, it generally is aligned with things we would classically put into this left brain category. And I like this graphic in that not only does it discuss left and right brain, but it breaks it down into thinking about information processing, project engagement, perception, workflow, and problem solving. So we'll step through each of these 5 elements for each side of the brain. On the left side, when we think about information processing and the processing of information, we'll start here. Those with high cognitive motivation are looking things linearly. They're looking for the details. They're being analytical. They're moving in a sequential order, and they're using logic to solve those problems. Inversely, individuals that have lower cognitive motivation or classically more right-brained look at things holistically. They may see an end result, they're creative in that pursuit, tasks are a bit random, and intuition is engaged in problem solving. Now, either is an effective tool and approach and both can yield solid results. But particularly in entrepreneurship, where the problems are ill-defined and the information is often lacking and decisions may be relatively unprecedented, while both left and right brain and both elements add value, I'd encourage you to be sure you're thinking through a lot of these left brain principles and that you're employing things most commonly associated with this higher cognitive motivation and higher analytical consideration. And in the classroom, we're increasingly practicing what we're preaching by trying to solve the problem of how do you educate students better, have better outcomes, have a more engaging experience, improve retention, and produce better graduates at both the K through 12 as well as the college ranks. So we'll start with the right-hand side and thinking about technology in the classroom. Many teachers like the value of adapting technology to diverse learning styles, of having a more motivating environment, and enhancing material being taught, where it's not simply watching someone at a chalkboard going over rote information. What we see with that are a variety of technology and non-technology solutions. We see real-world education. It's been called problem-based learning or project-based learning for years, whereby the context of the teaching is tied to real-world problems, or there might actually be real connections with companies and organizations that are brought into the classroom. We see online courses where you found yourself as a unique and novel way to learn globally, to learn dynamically, and to learn in a much more customized fashion. We see gamification taking hold. We see use of technology in the context of mobile apps, tablets, not only for homework, but also in the classroom. We see integration of social networks. We see use of ebooks and textbooks and open source books. We see learning analytics that help teachers assess the concerns and achievements of students. And in the cases of Khan Academy and other, teachers can monitor in real time how students are performing on tasks that are done within the class, and can then go and attend to a specific student that may be having a specific problem. And in that way, much more customized attention and much more real-time attention, rather than waiting till the end of the week or to the end of the semester just to discover that a student was having problems in a certain area. So in this context, we see within our classrooms at all levels that technology is playing a leading role, but it's not technology for technology's sake. There's a broader approach to how do you employ real-world education and online courses, devices, social networks, ebooks, learning analytics into a comprehensive solution for students that improves the quality and potentially improves the affordability of education. So, a hard problem that we're working to solve. And when you think about cognitive motivation, you can go through, do your assessment, your evaluation, your posting of that within the assignment section. And what we find with individuals that have a higher need for cognitive motivation, they typically make better entrepreneurial decisions. For one, it's more enjoyable. If you don't like hard problems, if you expect to find the answers easily, if you expect to have lots of precedents, entrepreneurship is a hard way to go. If, however, you enjoy the challenge, you enjoy difficult problems, you enjoy trying to make a puzzle fit even though you may be missing some pieces, that's more aligned with the entrepreneurial path. We too find that individuals that have a higher need for cognition are able to recall information and connect information in different ways. And that they're more accurate in analyzing that information, of thinking about arguments and counter-arguments, alternative solutions, and selection of solutions within that path. And they demonstrate better logical reasoning along the way. Intuition, emotion, feeling gut plays a role, but a bit more attention is paid to the analytics of it and the logical decisions of it. So in summary, when we think about need for cognition, there's value. There's value in thinking through, and even if it's not your default method of doing things, I would challenge you to consider how to do more of that and how to be analytical in your decisions, even on decisions that are very subjective. Think about the role of analytics in forming first impressions, in developing and inserting the missing pieces, and leveraging experience and intuition and assumptions, so we don't ignore those things, but we don't rely on them wholly either. But we bring that to close by doing a complete and thorough analysis to make for better decision making.